Okay, and we're back with more Arnold vlogs. So, picking up where we left off, we're going to start off with Sally's Comet. In this episode, there's this comet that's about to pass by Arnold called Sally's Comet. And the way Sally's Comet works is that it only passes once every 60 or 70 years, and apologies, something in my eye. And Arnold and Gerald want to see Sally's Comet, but there's one problem, is that they live in an urban environment, and in said urban environment, there's a lot of light from all the buildings, so they can't see the comet, so they need to get everyone to turn their lights off. They try asking people, no one believes them. They try going out into the country, but everyone else has the idea and it's packed. So eventually they go over to a radio station and put out a message telling everyone to see the show, and it's a very popular radio show that everyone listens to, and it works. The lights go out and they're able to see the comet. And, this isn't much of an episode. Again, it's kind of a standard episode, but it's very, very relatable. I mean, I don't know about you, but I love looking at the stars. I love sitting down, going out far into the countryside and just looking up and being able to see all that beautiful sky. And it's always infuriating when you're in an area where you want to see a big event happening, but there's just so many crowds and stuff. There's one time there was a really big moon. I forget, it was a lunar eclipse or something, and it was so cloudy I couldn't see it. It was so light out I couldn't see it. And then there was another time where, what was happening again? Oh yeah, where there's actually a solar eclipse coming up and I want to see it. I'm actually in the area where it might be happening, but unfortunately I'm going to be going on vacation. It's I want to see spectacular events. So the show was really good about just bringing it back to that time where, yeah, you're going to get to see this astronomical event. It's once in a lifetime. You'll never get to see it again. I also love this episode because it's constantly one step ahead of me. Like in the beginning when they're trying to mail in enough box tops to get the telescope so they can see Sally's Comet, they're eating the cereal. And I'm sitting there thinking, you don't have to eat the cereal. You just need to buy the boxes and rip them off, or eat them eventually, because cereal can last a while. And before I could even say it, someone brought it up, and we can't eat it, it's wasteful. And I'm like, kudos to you. And then later I'm like, well, why don't they just leave the city and go out into the country to see the comet? It's they do that. So I just love it when the episode's constantly thinking ahead of me. Again, I mean, it doesn't have to, but it's always nice when the writers are, acknowledging certain things. It makes you get the sense that, there's people thinking it through. And it's also one of the reasons why I love Rick and Morty, because Rick and Morty constantly does that. It's even times where you think you're a step ahead of the show, it's nope, they pulled the rug out from under you. We also get a grandpa flashback, which, those are always great. We got a grandpa flashback. And and it's interesting because we get to see the city, which is New York, but we get to see it back when he was a young boy. And I always love the grandpa flashbacks, but it's interesting to know that he's been living in this building since those times. And it's just interesting just how much the world has changed. It really makes you think about, just in general, just how much the world has changed. And particularly now that we're living in accelerated, just how much it's going to continue to change. And, I love Arnold's optimism here. That's the thing I love with the show. It's a very optimistic show. It's whenever there's a problem, Arnold's always going to stand his ground, be optimistic, look for the best solution, keep his hopes up. And it's just, as a kid growing up, it's just a very hopeful show. And it just leaves you with this feel-good feeling. And because Arnold's just so likable, and just how committed he is to doing the right things, committed he is to not giving up. And I'll probably repeat that at least a dozen more times over the course of this vlog series, because there's probably going to be a lot more, because there's going to be a lot of episodes where he's like that. Then again, I do love the solution of how they're able to get everyone to turn off the lights. They go into a radio station where is totally a riff on those radio stations where it's a cool guy like, this is so-and-so, bringing you your spectacular show for the night. And I love when they go inside the recording booth and it turns out this guy, that's not his actual voice, it's just like this kind of pathetic, scrawny little voice. It's like, just details like that. And again, like, it is cute how, Gerald sent out a radio blast and it worked. And we also learned that Grandpa's first name is Phil. Again, I really don't have any gripes in this episode other than the animation kind of is a little inconsistent between episodes, but I talked about that last week. It kind of reminds me of Batman the Animated Series was like that. Alright, so next episode, pretty standard. It's Abner comes home. Basically, it focuses on Arnold's pet pig, Abner, who Arnold's playing around with him, feeding him, cleaning up after him, then cleaning up after him again, all that good stuff, and then Arnold goes to bed, and then Abner sees something outside, he runs after it, and before he knows it, he's lost, he's far away from home. Arnold wakes up the next day, he's devastated that he's lost Abner. A lot of hopelessness, but eventually Arnold's able to come up with a plan to get Arnold together, and that he just lays like a giant pile of of Abner's favorite foods, and then lets the fan blowing the scent over New York. Abner smells it, come home, and we get a heartfelt reunion that may or may not have made me cry. And I'm sorry if I plowed through that kind of quickly, but there wasn't a whole lot to this episode. Now, I'm going to say, I know I've said this before, but this is one of those been there, done that storylines, but it's one of those I'm a sucker for. Like, the lost animal in the bed. And, yeah, I mean, it is predictable. But, again, what's interesting is that Hey Arnold's able to put its spin on it. And the spin is that usually in the Lost Pet episode, it's like a cat or a dog. What's interesting about Hey Arnold is that the family pet is a pig, and it's just really odd and unique and interesting. And, it's just such a unique thing to have for a pet. And more I think about pig, as messy as they are, it's probably like an easy pet. I mean, they'll pretty much eat anything. You can just feed them your garbage. I should know because I actually I went to a farm camp one summer. It was a sleepaway camp on a farm, and one of the things you had to do was every day you had your morning chores, and one of the morning chores was feeding the pigs. And you usually had a bucket of all the table scraps, all the leftovers, and we'd just dump it in there and the pigs would slobber over it. And yeah, pigs will eat anything except bacon. Do not feed a pig bacon. Like, I think we saw Grandpa making bacon at one point. Like, no, you do not feed pigs bacon. You know why you don't feed pigs bacon? Because if you feed the pigs bacon, then they'll acquire a taste to bacon. And you know what bacon is? Pig. So the last thing you want is you're on a farm, you have a bunch of pigs eating bacon, they acquire an interest in the taste. Then they realize, hey, my neighbors made a bacon. Let's eat each other. And then you've introduced cannibalism into the world. I should stop talking. But yeah, I mean, again, there was nothing particularly exceptional. Again, like a lot of cartoons have these episodes where the pet gets lost, there's moping and doping, and run away. The difference is usually there's some sort of dispute involved. Usually it's like the owner is kind of mistreating the pet, like in the SpongeBob episode, Gary Come Home, or I think a better, more relevant example would be The Simpsons, since that was around the time there was an episode where they were mistreating Santa's little helper. He runs away, runs to Mr. Burns, but that had a bit more of an emotional hook for a couple of reasons. One is that we had, the pet left, as I said before, because of something the owner did. Here, it wasn't anything Arnold did, it was just Abner's a dumb pig in the show who runs away. So when, the reunion doesn't mean as much as like in that Simpsons episode, because there it's like they did something they felt bad, they made up. And also, nothing really bad happens to Abner. Like, the thought of something bad happens to him, but nothing really that bad. He just gets lost, almost gets captured by some pigskin guys, and then makes his way back. nothing bad. Whereas in The Simpsons, Santa's little helper gets captured, he gets tortured, and nothing. And yeah, so it means a bit more. Again, I don't think I need Arnold to get mad or mistreat Abner, because, again, Arnold's a good kid, and it would have been a little out of character if he had done something to make Abner run away. But it also just seems kind of weird that you'd have Abner just be a dumb pig, when in reality, pigs are, like, the smartest animals ever. Like, seriously, pigs are really freaking smart. At least that's what I've heard. And again, like, but, there's nothing wrong, as I've said. It's fine. It checks all the boxes. It's cute. I like seeing Arnold play with Abner. I like him cleaning Abner, then Abner getting dirty, and then Arnold having to clean him again. I did sort of feel, oh, poor Arnold, when he woke up and realized Abner missing. And I like the plan to get Abner back. I teared up at the reunion, as I mentioned earlier, where Arnold and Abner are reunited. And Grandpa's speech about pigs being dumb was amusing, and it's like, again, it's classic Grandpa, where he's kind of goofy, but there's some heart beneath there. Gerald was the voice of pessimism, as always. I actually predicted that. Like, I was watching the episode, I'm like, okay, let me guess, at some point Gerald's going to show up, and he's going to say it's hopeless or something. And, yeah, that's exactly what he did, and I should probably shut up about that, since I constantly say that Gerald's the voice of pessimism, but he is. So yeah, that's pretty much it. There's a couple little things I found odd about this episode. For one, where did Arnold get the money for a billboard ad? Like, not many. And I mean, he lives in a shared. He doesn't have a house. He lives in a flat with other people, and him and his family seem decently off, but not like money for a billboard off. Well, decent off. And then there's also this one little mistake I noticed, which is that the mistake, which is where Arnold sticks his head in a trash can, and the trash can lid is like this small in Arnold's head. It's like football shaped. And like, there's no way his head should be able. His head should get stuck. It should go like this. Like, he should not be able to stick his football-shaped head into that tiny little trash can. So yeah, cute episode, and major kudos to whoever voiced the pig. He did a good job. And let's see, the next episode is Sewer King. This episode's pretty enjoyable. In it, Arnold gets asked by his grandpa to go down to the jewelry shop and pick up his golden watch. And it's a big deal for him because it's a watch that means a lot to Grandpa, and it's his biggest treasure, his prized possession. So him trusting Arnold with it's a pretty big deal. So he goes down there and picks it up, and then on his way back, gets distracted by some construction work. They're digging a hole. Arnold looks down the hole, and the watch accidentally falls out and into the hole. And Arnold does what any sensible 5-year-old does. Not tell his grandpa what happened, who'd probably be understanding, but he goes into the hole where he encounters the Sewer King, this crazy guy who's living alone in the sewers with only rats for company, and Arnold manages to get the watch from the Sewer King had the watch, and escape the sewer and make it back to Grandpa, and then who immediately accidentally drops it down the drain, and then turns out he actually has like a dozen spare watches. So yeah, again, I really enjoyed this one for various reasons. For one, it's showing us a new side of the city. We have yet to see the sewers, and again, that's like an area I never thought we'd see in Harold, but it's one of those, only in a cartoon could you really have an episode for the sewers. I mean, the show makes the sewers like this big, elaborate labyrinth. A lot of great use of shots and lighting. Again, like, there's an episode of Batman the Animated Series where Batman's fighting a villain who lives in the sewers and has an army of children as his slaves. This is that, but done really well and suspenseful. And it's, the build up to the Sewer King is nice. You have the giant hole, you have them walking around the tunnels. And if it wasn't for the thumbnail, the whole Sewer King reveal might have actually been shocking to me. The character is pathetic, yet he's also very intimidating. He has this really great voice. Like, I love whatever voice the actor's doing for him. I love the whole conflict. Like Arnold playing chess and him owning him. Is Arnold just really good at chess, or is the guy just really, really bad at it? I don't know. I apologize for the sirens. I'm in a city right now. Ironic, since I'm talking about a show set in the city. There's an amusing punchline at the end. Again, the bit with the grandpa revealing that he has all those spare watches was amusing. And I'm not going to complain too much about Gerald here because, yeah, he was pessimist, but here it was like reasonable pessimism. It's like Chucky with Rugrats. Like when Chucky expresses doubts and concerns, it's not just him being a voice of pessimism for the sake of being a voice of pessimism. I mean, that is the point of his character, but the thing is that Chucky's concerns are legitimate concerns. Like, and half the time he's right. Like, he's right when he says, I don't think that's a good idea sometimes. Whereas with the Gerald, he's usually wrong. I mean, it's not his fault. I mean, Gerald's the everyman, and most everyman don't have Arnold's hope, optimism, and determination, but he is right. I mean, dropping it again, like, I'm sure if Arnold went back and told his grandpa what happened, his grandpa would understand. I mean, it's not worth diving into the sewer to get a gold watch. I mean, I think he'd be worried if he found out that's what Arnold did, or at least most parents would. I mean, he could have gone hurt, just relieved. He would have just been relieved to know Arnold was okay. But, yeah. But for whatever reason, he has spares. So again, don't have any problems with Gerald here. He was in the right. I like how we don't get much of an explanation for who the Sewer King is or why he's down there. He just sort of is down there, and I like that. Like, some things are better left open to speculation and open to interpretation. I love the score by James Lang. You can hear the ticking music in the background when Arnold and Gerald are being chased around by the Sewer King. And yeah, like, just wonderful score. Ticking of the music, the chase music, it's really good. The final line was also great, when Grandpa's like, where are you going? And Arnold's like, to take a long, hard look at my life. Yeah, so overall, really good. And really, really funny. And my only real thing I thought was odd was there's one point when Arnold and Gerald get out of the sewer and they're wet, and Gerald is wet. Hair is wet and Arnold's isn't.